Naota Nandaba and his friend Mamimi Samajima, the girlfriend of his older brother, are hanging out underneath a bridge. She then hugs him from behind. He asks why she always does that, and she replies that she has to or she will overflow. It's an ordinary city called Mabase. There is an iron-shaped building that emits smoke every day, cover the entire city. Naota and Mamimi buy a drink from a vending machine when he was run over by a pink-haired woman's Vespa scooter. The pink-haired woman starts panicking that she might have killed him, then revives him with CPR. Before she leaves, she hit him on the forehead with a left-handed bass guitar. The blow leaves a scar on his forehead. Later at home, a horn-like bump comes out from his scar which he covers with a bandage. The next day, his classmates tell rumors about the Vespa woman, who has been hitting people with a scooter. After school, Naota again encounters a pink-haired woman and runs away from her. Naota goes to the hospital to examine his head, and the nurse turns out to be the red-haired woman who attacks him. He manages to sneak out of the hospital. After returning home, he meets her at dinner. She introduces herself as live-in maid Haruko, who is going to work on his home. Haruko settles in Naota's room. However, Naota and Haruko argue about where she will sleep, and Naota says she should stay with his father. He goes downstairs, where his father says that Mamimi came by to get the day-old bread from their bakery, and asks if Mamimi's family is poor. When Naota goes to find her, she tells him how much she likes his brother, who lives in America. Naota tells her he has an American girlfriend. Mamimi suddenly says she's overflowing before she collapses. Naota tries to help her when a red TV-headed robot and the severed hand of giant robot emerge from the bump on his head and begin fighting with each other. She ends the fight by hitting the TV-headed robot with her guitar after the robot's hand is destroyed. While losing its reddened appearance, the robot ends up living in the Nandaba residence. X-rays taken by the TV-headed robot reveal that Naota's head is empty due to an NO portal that cannot be easily detected on the X-rays. Haruko reveals she is a first-class space patrol officer, and the robot belongs to Medical Mechanica. While the robot is kept occupied doing chores at the Nandaba residence, Mamimi is obsessed with a handheld video game called Firestarter, in which the player performs the role of an arsonist in order to please the Lord of Black Flames, Kanti. Haruko tries to break into the Medical Mechanica plant in town, which is in the shape of a giant iron. She fails and is captured by security guards. Naota arrives and retrieves her home. Before leaving, she questions security why there is no entrance or exit. Mamimi sees the robot while he is recovering the parts from his head that Haruko had damaged, wearing black wings and a halo and flying off a burned rooftop. She believes him to be a god and names him Kanti based on video game character. A series of fires meanwhile erupts around the city. Naota visits the site of one fire with 3 of his school friends, where he sees Mamimi down by the river and learns from his friends that she is being bullied at her school. The fire again broke out. Naota realizes it is Mamimi who is starting the fire. He finds her performing a fire ritual by the water bank. She explains she burnt down her old school house when she was younger, because she hated the place and had been saved from the flames by Naota's brother, which was the reason she loved him. She ends the ritual by asking the robot to bless her with a kiss. A robot emerges from Naota's head then, and starts to battle Kanti. Haruko arrives and attacks the robot, but was not enough to stop him. In the heat of the moment, Kanti eats Naota and assumes his reddened state, while transforming into a large weapon. It launches a powerful attack, damaging the robot enough for Haruko to destroy. Afterward, Kanti separates with Naota in a weird way. Naota wonders what he can do for Mamimi and promises to always be by her side. The father of Naota's classmate Iri Ninamori, as well as the mayor of Mabase, is caught up in a scandal involving an alleged separation with her mother. Ninamori is more focused on the class's upcoming play, Puss in Boots. At school, Ninamori asks Naota for rehearsal, who was voted to play the cat lead opposite to her. Naota is unenthusiastic about his role and skips rehearsal. Upon meeting Mamimi, she discovers that he now has cat ears growing from his head and clicks the photo of him. Ninamori goes to her home but retreats to a train station to get away from the media circus that is developed outside her home when her father, the mayor, was caught in a relationship with his secretary. Where Naota finds her, who is waiting for Haruko. Haruko comes racing down the street and loses her Vespa when she tries to avoid hitting a cat. The Vespa slams into Naota, knocking him into Ninamori and exposing his NO manifestation, the cat ears. Curious, she touches them and passes out due to exposure to NO. Later, Naota invites Ninamori to his house, where Naota's father invites her to spend the night at the Nandaba residence due to the current turmoil at her home. She settles in Naota's room and reveals that she rigged the class votes to have him cast as the cat. The next day, Naota still tries to avoid rehearsal, but Ninamori stops him, wanting everything to be perfect for her parents to see. After Ninamori angrily reveals Naota's cat ears, he retaliates by revealing her vote rigging. This triggers the partial emergence of Medical Mechanica robot from her head, a result of his head hitting Naota's from the robot, transferred to her NO channel. Robot using her body to attack Kanti. Haruko and Kanti lure it out at the school rooftop. Haruko attacks the robot and accidentally feeds it curry, forcing it to separate from Ninamori's body. Wheel robot searching for toilet. Kanti merges with Naota and transforms into weapon. Kanti destroys the robot with his powerful attack. After that, Ninamori's parents call off their divorce, and the class goes through with the play. Haruko proves to be a star baseball player with phenomenal hitting and pitching skills, nearly single-handedly defeating the Mabase Martians, who are coached by Naota's grandfather Shizukuni. Naota, however, not wanting to be compared to his brother, refuses to swing when he is at bat, and gets hit by one of Haruko's pitches. At home, Naota's father and Haruko indulge in odd behavior that inflames Naota's jealousy. Later, when he is hitting the vending machine to relieve his stress, he meets the red-haired man. That man warns him to stay away from Haruko before he leaves. Red-haired man returns to his base, revealed to be Commander Amarao of the Interstellar Immigration Department, works alongside his subordinate Lieutenant Kitsurubami. He discovers that a satellite damaged by one of Haruko's hit baseballs is rapidly falling towards Earth. It homes in on a sudden burst of light from the NO channel in Naota's head that is triggered by his anger towards his father and targets Mabase. Naota confronts Kamen and hits him in the head with a baseball bat, only to discover from Amarao that it was a robot duplicate. Naota finds his real father in a death-like state and revives him with hot water, learning that Haruko disposed of Kamen after deeming him useless for her ends, after he could not produce a NO channel. After receiving a message that Amarao asked Naota to give her, Haruko takes Naota to the top of the Medical Mechanica plant, where she extracts a Gibson Flying V guitar from Naota's head, which she calls his bat. She then leaves as the falling satellite heads straight for Naota. It unfolds into the shape of a baseball glove and launches a bomb that looks exactly like a baseball. Naota swings his bat and manages to halt the bomb, which begins to detonate. Haruko returns to rescue him by swinging her guitar and knocking it back into space. Haruko begins to switch her attentions from Naota's father to Naota. Naota's jealous father challenges his son to a duel for Haruko. The fight amounts to little more than an intense airsoft firefight with Kanti, who is allied with Naota's father. During the fight, Kitsurubami tries to destroy Kanti on Amarao's orders, but fails when Haruko blocks her attack, ending up being carried off in the river current. Mamimi, observing Naota's intimate relationship with Haruko, questions how much he really likes her, leading him to confront her about their relationship. At the same time, revealed to have a history in seeing her as a threat to Earth, Commander Amarao ends up in a gunfight against Haruko over the attempt on Kanti, with Haruko taking out his subordinates and overpowering him after he mentions Atomsk. Naota is about to confess Mamimi. Finally, his forehead erupts with one of the largest objects yet, a Leviathan robot, while a gunfight rages between Commander Amarao, his gunman, and Haruko. Haruko, opening Amarao's NO channel, arms herself with a guitar slingshot as she goes after the robot. Trapped on top of the robot and getting upset that Mamimi is calling his brother for help, Naota resolves to save Mamimi and lets himself be eaten by Kanti to fight the robot. But the robot proves too powerful for Kanti, losing Naota during a failed attack, and despite his and Haruko's best efforts, they are unable to stop the giant robot, which rampages toward the Medical Mechanica plant. Kanti then manifests the power of Atomsk by producing his Eb-Zero 1961 Gibson bass guitar, to the amazement of Commander Amarao and Haruko. Kanti defeats the giant robot, which is actually a gargantuan hand, rocketing over the Medical Mechanica plant and straight into the ground, where it becomes a petrified monument, presiding over the plant. Kanti then separates from Naota, yet retains the power of Atomsk. Weeks passed since Haruko and Kanti have disappeared and become wanted criminals, while smoke continues to pour out of the Medical Mechanica plant, shrouding Mabase in mist. Naota is advised by Amarao to forget about Haruko and resume his normal life, as she was using him to regain the power of Atomsk, and reveals that Atomsk is someone that Medical Mechanica took from her, and she needs Naota's help to get him back. At the water bank, Mamimi finds a small dog-like robot. The robot runs away with her cell phone, which she lets it eat, and it grows as a result. Haruko returns to the Nandaba residence at dinner, in a style similar to episode 1's dinner scene. Later at night, Naota asks her in tears where did she go and left him alone suddenly. The following morning, Naota runs away with Haruko. Commander Amarao and Lieutenant Kitsurubami attempt to find the terminal core of a robot, only to find out the surrounding of the core leads them to the city and encounters Mamimi, who had been feeding the cell phones and vehicles before it goes berserk. It assimilates Kanti while reaching the Medical Mechanica plant. Naota and Haruko show up at the Medical Mechanica plant. Despite Amarao trying to convince Naota that she is only using him, he chooses her. Haruko feeds the boy to the core as it enters the giant hand to commence Medical Mechanica's order to terraform the planet and purge humanity of independent thought. Haruko hopes to extract Atomsk, the celestial being whose power she desires, before the giant hand can fully grasp the Medical Mechanica plant. Kanti stops it as Naota emerges from his head, glowing with the infinite energy of Atomsk. Stunned, Haruko flies into a rage, creating a fused Gibson flying the Eb-Zero 1961 Gibson bass guitar. Naota overpowers Haruko in an epic battle. Before he can finish Haruko off, Naota stops short and declares his love for her, allowing Atomsk to fully emerge from his NO channel. Atomsk consumes the terminal core and blasts into space. Afterward, Haruko offers to bring Naota into space, and then reneges because he's still a kid. Naota finds her guitar lying amongst the rubble, which Mamimi takes a picture of, inspiring her to leave school and pursue a photography career. In the end, Naota and his friends begin middle school, and Kanti still living with the Nandaba family. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, share the video and subscribe to the channel.